Afternoon, folks. This is the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. Hope everyone's well. Whenever you're tuning into this, it might be literally a day or two before the real Sepang test, not the Shakedown test, which is just finished. So we're going to cover all that and some more liveries. I'm joined here by Ryan, who's joined us before post Silverstone. How are you, Ryan?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it? It's we're getting MotoGP withdrawal, folks. As you can imagine, we're not going to talk about just divulge straight into whatever everyone else has been talking about on pods. Because they're just talking about what they'll expect from everyone. And we won't know until the end of this test or Q2 in Thailand, really.
Hmm.
But we got carried away, and we get carried away with it anyway. And you look at lap times, don't you? I mean, every year I say, "Oh, it's just testing," but then you still look and you find times first thing in the morning, don't you? So I mean, before we go into deliveries, what did you make of these times? I mean, looking at Ayagura, that's impressive. He's what I think he's faster than some of the fastest Aprilias last year, but then the bike might have improved. Is he in a soft tire? Is it like fuel?
Ye-
I mean, I mean, what do you think you can take anything from that time from Mario? Do you think you can take anything from Jack? The fact that Jack Miller's only a quarter of a second slower than his time at KTM at test last year. I mean, is it just pinch of salt stuff for you as well?
Yeah, you like you said, it's a shakedown test. Everyone's getting used to the bikes again. I mean, famously, I think Cal many years ago did the first test and was like, I forgot how to ride a bike. Um, I am impressed. Like, let's face it, he is a rookie, so even being that high up the order and putting in competitive times, is impressive, and I think it does bode well. But
Yeah,
you won't know till Thailand.
no, no, and the settings they're using and like it, they do a race sim. Obviously, they've all been doing race simulations now. I know Frankie Carcelli was saying on Twitter that they've done a few race sims with Aldeguer. Um, I think he's probably got the more promise than this year. No offense to him, but probably because the machinery's on. Um,
Absolutely. I think you're spot on there. That Honda's been a bit of a dog. I think it's fair to say. Um, I've seen the comments coming out recently about Zarco doing really well on what he's got from Bridle, but it might be the age-old issue. You had Vinales and Rossi at Yamaha. They couldn't really do an awful lot with the bike. Fabio jumped on it and he's winning again.
yeah,
Put together a title fight. So is Iagura doing the same sort of thing? Who knows? Maybe.
I mean, our Euro. Well, it's easy to forget that he's actually on a Aprilia, isn't it? And the Aprilia is going to be. I mean, that
Oh, I do apologize. I'm thinking about Chantra.
well, Chantran. It's the thing is, Chantran's got a massive hill to climb.
Yeah, I
Uh,
do apologize.
it's all right. I'm the rest of us. It's fine. I mean, I think Chantran's got. He's lucky to be in MotoGP anyway. I think he's won two Moto2 races.
Yeah.
And he's just right time rider. I'm sorry, but it is the right time, right sponsor, right place. Everything's worked out well from that way. Um,
But who else would you put on it? I mean, you've got
yeah,
Nakagami that's not really done an awful lot. It's getting, the older age. It's definitely
no,
creeping up on him, and it's time to try something new.
I don't think anyone else could have slotted. I mean, if Idemitsu, however you say that, sorry, need an Asian rider, then yeah, your hands are tied, and it's not. I don't think the likes of Tairo Forisato, even though he's probably going to be the next big thing from Japan, he's not ready. And if I
No.
were Tairo Forisato or Hiroshi Oyama as manager, I would not want him to be going to that bike right now anyway. Um, and yeah, Mario Aji is not fast enough for MotoGP. I don't think. I think they know that from that academy, that junior program, Moto2. So yeah, you're right. There's no one else it could have been. Whether or not it just means he's a stopgap, I hope for his sake, I hope he isn't, because he's a really, really fun character. I think everyone likes
Yeah, absolutely.
Top Gun Chantra, but
He might
unfortunately,
surprise as well. You get a wet race. It's, a great leveler.
yeah. I mean, we sometimes you think, I mean, what are you doing in MotoGP? I mean, for Darren Binder, he managed to get into MotoGP, and obviously when it was a wet race, that he was carving through the field. So now and again, yeah, when you get a wet race, some years you get four, other years you'll be lucky for one. We'll have to see, but yeah, that's the one launch we haven't had yet. Is the LCR launch? And I think that's what in a matter of days, and then that's it. We've had all of them. Is it just me, Ryan, or did most of the launches happen way later than this? Is this like the first year they've all been chucked into January?
I think so, yeah, because normally you get a few spill into February. Whether it's because the test is quite early on, I don't know. But saying that, I'm sure they've ridden tests before without the official
Yeah,
liveries. They've just gone with, a plainer look. Yeah, maybe there's something going on for the first race. I don't know. They're trying to get everything finalized. It just seems weird that they're all very close together and very
yeah.
quickly launched.
Because some were into late Feb, weren't they? It used to be just the norm.
Potentially, yeah. I can't say I can remember. Um, I just noticed sort of January, February time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
again, being
It's
an absolute Yamaha fanboy, I remember the Movistar livery of 2014. I don't think actually came until the first race. I
yeah.
think they were still using like a silver and white livery roll through the testing.
The 14 one, and they had what they'd done was, I think, for in 13 they had the Monster was a partner, wasn't a title sponsor,
Yes,
and they had the Chrome and the bike, which is what Rossini.
that's it. Yeah,
But in testing for 14, they had they went back to the sort of white base of the
yeah.
2012 bike. It was really good looking, and they had the Monster on the side, and then Movistar came in, as you said, as a title sponsor. So that was a really nice in between livery. Of course, we know that because we're Yamaha nerds, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was we'll go on to liveries from that. All these squish liveries into one, and it's nice to see them because you're getting I'm certainly missing MotoGP massively.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Literally after this, I'm going to be on my iPad looking for accommodation for Brno, and maybe Silverstone, we'll see. But the Grassini launch, we'd already covered that in last week. I mean, I was talking about the Chrome, which is a bit different. I always like Chrome in a Grand Prix bike. I think it was really good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Trackhouse bikes looked phenomenal last year. I think it was the first race to
Yes,
debut that was Silverstone because I remember them coming past thinking
yeah,
that looks a bit odd. Then you actually see them, you think, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I was a big fan of that.
that's right. Because at Silverstone they had the all the famous American races for their anniversary,
That's it. Yeah,
and then they also had a new livery, not new normal livery. So
yeah,
yeah, but then just to confuse everyone, but yeah, that was I like Chrome. It does work. So that was quite nice. But looking at these new liveries, folks, it is a year of change, really.
oh,
The
massively.
Pramac livery, folks, you don't need to be to do that because we've all seen it. But I was saying this on Twitter and Ryan. So the way Pramac is a red logo, red and white. Okay, incorporating that with Prima purple and Alpine blue, Yamaha blue. Wow, they've done really
They
well.
have, yeah. Um,
I didn't, and then obviously they've just managed to sneak the modal at the bottom in bright red as well somehow. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, I
done
mean,
very well.
it's beautiful. I think another fan of the team going for Gloss, not Matt. You've probably seen those rants
Mm.
on Twitter from me. But yeah, it looks beautiful, and I'm really hoping that they really mean it when they say Pramac is a second team. I can't stress this enough. I mean, we've had it before where some teams have been treated as just a satellite team, even though they were claiming that it was just going to be an extension of us. It never really was. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously Yamaha have been burned already. They lost Tech 3 way back when, which to me was crazy at the time. I get they were still a satellite team. They were a customer team, as they were reminded. But to lose an outfit like that, I think was a wake up call. And obviously, only having two bikes on the grid must have given them a kick into gear. And I'm the same as you, Jimmy. I hope they really do bring them in because that bike needs a lot of work. Um, It'd be a massive shame to see them drop off. Same with
yeah,
Honda. These are bikes that we've grown up watching. I know Honda was the big player at the time, but you still, Yamaha was a big player too. And to see them struggling like they are is a shame, but it does look like they're moving with the times. They're going into the whole, okay, we need, four bikes as a factory, not
yeah.
just our two main riders and two that are just there to pay some money towards us.
Well, exactly. I mean, they were very, very fortunate. I still can't believe they pulled it off. I
Yeah,
mean, Pramac won the championship with Ducati. No, we'll go to Yamaha. We'll go to Yamaha. I mean, I know. Is it Campinotti? Is it Pramac?
that's it. I never thought Campanotti's the owner, as far as I'm aware, of both Pramac and the team.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could
he's
be wrong on the company. I know he's got something, high to do with it, but yeah, I never thought you'd see the day where Pramac wasn't the Ducati team. I really didn't. And they made some interesting statements at the
yeah.
launch, talking about, we're looking forward to being part of the project and valued as a partner. And I always thought they were a big partner with Ducati as well. So maybe there's a bit more there that we perhaps don't know about?
Well, there was a bit bitter. I mean, Camanotti was saying, wasn't he, in a few interviews last year, that little things annoyed him. They weren't treating Pramac with the attention that Bastianini was getting. They wanted it to be like, okay, well,
Yeah,
Pecco, if you're winning rider, we want to be all treated equally here, no matter even if it's not in the Lenovo team. And then he didn't. He said it confirmed it for him when he saw the reaction of the team when Bastianini beat Martin at Mugello in the
yes,
last corner, and he said
yes.
that was I thought that was. I mean, there's probably more behind closed doors. Of course, there is, guys. I mean, it's not just what we see on the screen. But he said that was like the final nail in the coffin for him. I thought, wow. I mean, that's winding up that much.
I
Um,
suppose you can understand it, can't you? You've got Tardozzi, which I get. He is the Lenovo boss. So
yeah,
for him, he's only bothered about those two bikes. But I suppose when you've got the whole of Ducati cheering quite a lot for it,
yeah,
you probably sit there and think, well, hold on a second, aren't we supposed to be on the same team? It's like, in F1, Red Bull and Alpha, well, they're not even AlphaTauri anymore, but those guys going head to head and the team's going nuts. Um,
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, Domenicali, Claudio Domenicali. Yeah, I mean, or Paolo, Paolo as well. I mean, those guys should be more neutral.
yes.
If Ducati wins or Ducati second or third, you should, oh, fantastic. This is incredible for the company. But yeah, when it's the official entry, I get it. But at the same time, he is an official Ducati course rider. Well, Martin was.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, but then I don't care. Right now, I'm just happy that Yamaha have a second team.
Me too.
It
Massively.
really, as much as I don't like it when people say Ducati Cup. Like we had it before with Honda a long time ago. You didn't give a shit then. We do need more Japanese bikes to go. We just plain and simple do. They've still got more bikes than anyone with six. And then I think, I mean, the next is four with most of the manufacturers. So
Excuse me.
that's all good. But yeah, I'm quite optimistic. I do like the look of what's happened in the shakedown, but again, we'll wait until the test.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
interesting you mentioned the Ducati Cup. Sorry to jump in there. And I
yeah,
think we spoke about it before. There was years gone by, 2013, 14, 15, where you did have 8 Ducatis on the grid, but they weren't doing an awful lot. So it wasn't a problem then. You had Avintia running them, um,
yeah. Aspar.
Pramac, Ducati, and Aspar. Yeah. There's 8 bikes on the grid, but
Well, I've said that before. Me trying to like rein it in, like don't bite, and then a bite. I mean, in 2017, I think that was the last time there was eight before this current run of dominance.
yeah, yeah.
No one gave a damn.
No.
Cared then. But suddenly, oh, you're winning. No, it's not allowed.
Yeah, because it was all, oh, we want the Yamahas to the most, user friendly bike, but Yamaha would never do more than 4. So everyone else was going for Ducatis. And
Yes, I
yeah,
do recall.
they
I think Yamaha
helped.
did say they would never make more than, yeah, they will only have two
It
teams.
was them and Tech 3, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't think the RNF the last time it did feel like a bit of a half-assed effort, honestly.
Yeah, I
Not
think
it was probably because we weren't getting enough support though, don't you think?
potentially, I mean, the team, the way it went, I don't know what was going on there, truthfully. I think Yamaha was still using the same sort of philosophy that they did with Tech 3. I don't think that changed an awful lot. Obviously, they put more resource into Fabio and Morbidelli. If I remember rightly, Morbidelli actually had the factory bike for year one. Someone might come on and say, actually, no, it wasn't, but he had a better spec bike than Fabio either way. And I think it was only the following year where Morbidelli was left on that spec and Fabio got the full factory machine. So it was a little bit better, but yeah, I think the same sort of thing happened. Aprilia came along, offered RNF a better package. They jumped. Obviously, we know what happened to that team in the end. It's now Trackhouse, but Yamaha probably didn't learn enough from what happened with Tech 3, which is a massive disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I love the Tech 3 team. It's
Yeah, me too.
one of the teams with the biggest hearts. If I'm talking about Hervé, but I think he probably picks his team with. I mean, yes, obviously you're going to hire the best engineers and whatnot, but obviously when you hear him speak, and I've heard him speak to official media outlets and other podcasts, and he has got a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
heart.
Same with
He
Guy
picks.
Coulon.
Yeah, and he's been around since time began as well. But yeah, no, it's. But yeah, I mean, I'm speaking of Tech 3, we'll move on to that team, Tech 3 KTM, or is it Red Bull KTM Factory?
Oh, yeah, this is
Uh,
Bit of a controversial one, I think.
There we go, folks. Yes, they're different. Red, Motul. But yeah, they did say that was going to happen. They did say that they were going to do
Yeah,
this, and that was before the mass bet announcement. They did say that before then.
yeah,
I think even if they weren't, they'd have still done this, in my opinion. I don't think it would have changed. I do think, do you know what? I think I posted this on Twitter a year ago, right? I should have got the picture ready. Never mind. So if you if you look at these wheels, Repsol used to have bright orange wheels, right, folks? You can have a thin orange stripe trim round the wheel, right?
yeah.
Have it bright orange for the factory and red for the Tech 3. Little
So we
things
can
like
see
that.
what's going on.
And it would finish the look off beautifully, but I think they've got more important things to do right now than
You
finish off.
never know. Someone might see this and actually take that idea trackside.
Yeah, or repost it on Twitter when I've said it already.
Yeah. Just going on to those two teams at the moment
Yeah,
now. I've got two thoughts on this, and they're quite conflicting. So the first is they're both you must feel like a factory team. Your Tech 3, you think, oh, you know what, I'm part of KTM factory now
yeah,
because we are the same bike. We're all going out, we're going to look the same. Everything else, obviously, we don't know the technical aspects. Well, I don't anyway. You may know a bit more than me. But on the other side, you think Tech 3 that's had such a storied like presence in MotoGP now doesn't have an identity. They are just KTM racing, which I
yeah.
think is
No, that's a
quite
good point.
a shame. You know, they've had different liveries throughout the whole time as this
Yeah.
Yamaha satellite team. They've had a different presence as a KTM satellite team, or second factory team, whatever they want to call themselves now.
Yes,
But now, as you said, apart from the Motul branding, they are near on identical.
they are. They've had close ties with Motul for a long time, then stopped, and then back with Motul again. So at least they've got, they're keeping, ties to that in case Red Bull and KTM go in the construction. But yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, Tech have always had their own unique look. But then at the same time, last year, people were saying Acosta's not even a factory bike. He was. Pedro was on a full works KTM last year.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he wasn't.
I could tell from some of the aero bits updates, he was getting just as fast as Brad and Jack. I can't be 100% certain about Augusto, but he
I
was.
wouldn't have thought so. I mean, let's face it. The way it goes is if you've got a ride that's generally graduating to the factory team, a few more engineers appear in their garage, and as you said, the updates do as well. So, like, I think they probably knew Acosta was going to the factory team early on,
Yeah,
so they probably
yeah.
no probably
That
about
was
it.
planned.
They definitely
Please.
favoured him. With Jack's side, it was we'll do it as and when. And Augusto, I think they probably knew he was going out anyway, based on the performances. You know, they haven't got a bad bike. They can definitely attract talent, which they have done. I mean, Tech 3 this year is absolutely stacked.
This is the thing. 100% is different from last year. Those two, Mav and they definitely have full works bikes. Now, whether
Yeah,
the
got to.
staff in there is just all the same Tech 3 staff, that's as maybe. And there might be a few more factory KTM engineers in there. Don't know. That's speculative, folks. I mean, that's why the people in the paddock get paid what they do, and that's what they do. But
Sure.
the full works 2025 RC16s, 110%. Otherwise, there's no way Carlo Pena would have let an Airbus Giannini go to Tech 3 KTM. It would have been something else.
Maybe that's why they split.
I mean, I do. He's always asking for more money, but I know Pena obviously can't travel anymore. I saw some news he can't travel anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he's a bit ill, so he can't travel
Okay.
anymore. So, but then the thing is, the Bashini and Maverick Vinales, the stature of those riders is, and the money they can probably sort of negotiate with, maybe Red Bull. I don't know if Tech 3 could afford to pay that whole whack, and the spec of the bikes will have had to be current 2025.
Yeah, it must be.
This person, I want that person as well. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely different from last year. In terms of like Augusto maybe not getting it and Pedro getting, Pedro being a factory rider effectively. But this is it's weird. It's like if anything, you should be cutting back right now as a company. And obviously, yes, their racing budget is probably written set away, isn't it, for the next year, while
Yeah.
we tidy up the company and try and get investors. So I think it'll be fine to the end of the year. I just hope that the company can go through into 2026.
Yeah, me too. That'd be a massive, massive loss for the motorcycle industry as a whole. Forget racing for a moment. If
Oh my god,
KTM
mate, honestly, yeah,
disappear, that is,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think it can be stated enough how big that is. I know they don't perhaps have the most dealerships in the UK. They're a very popular brand across Europe. You see plenty of their bikes around. For those guys to go, uh, it's
It would be massively. I mean, I think they've got investors lined up. Obviously, they've sold off MV Agusta.
yeah, I don't think they'll go anywhere. But yeah, it's just
The
the
thing is,
thought
if
of
they've
them
already
going.
got a 2027 bike in the works, what happens now if they can't really afford to do next year? Do they just? I mean, if you're going to go racing in 2027 and the debt is almost gone or it's well on its way and it's fine in 2027, it won't be all gone by then.
No,
Uh, but what's the point if you're going to go racing in 2027 if developing it and collecting data would be best to just go racing in 2026 anyway? I mean, it's going to cost you what? I mean, if you MotoGP season to run, and two teams, Tech3 will provide the logistics for their team at least, but the bikes, then you Moto3, it's going to be up to, I mean, all in is probably up to, let's say, up to 100 million quid.
mm. Are we
So,
talking the Red Bull rookies as well in there?
yeah, yeah.
Because they supply the bikes and the works throughout that, as far as I'm aware.
The factory cost for one of those bikes isn't going to be a great deal, but obviously it's the
It's the
logistics
logistics and the staff, isn't it? They
and
they
stuff.
transport it
So
around.
actually, what's the point? I'm basically saying, what's the point
Mm,
topping it for a year and then going back again for 2027 with the new bike?
agreed. I
Um,
think it's all in or nothing, and I don't think they'll go not racing if that makes sense. I don't think they'll leave the paddock. Um, I can't see Red Bull letting it go. I think it would be a massive step for them. They've got the F1 team, they're not car manufacturers. What's to stop them buying the KTM racing division and say, you know what, let's really kick it up a notch. Let's have the MotoGP team as
that's
well.
true. That's true, but no one's officially said it. We've all guessed this because it would be the logical thing to do. Um, but there's been no official rumor that that's going to happen. Um,
Which means they're probably a bit more confident in it carrying on than we are.
maybe. I mean, I do. I'm hoping so. But I mean, I do. Obviously, was it Dietrich Mateschitz who used to run Red Bull?
Yes.
Um, obviously, well-known MotoGP journalist who we all look up to is Matt Oxley, and he said if Dietrich was still around, he would have absolutely just gone for it. He was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's just bail KTM out and let's move on from here because we can afford to. He was saying that would have definitely happened, but obviously he's passed. So and obviously new management there. But let's just hope they do pump something into it because I mean Red Bull racing in MotoGP and then KTM provide the engines and Red Bull provide the aerodynamics. That would work. But then this is we're into pure speculation now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just see how this season goes and on off track. I'm just hoping that there's some investors come along. I mean, there's Lewis Hamilton rumors, wasn't there? His people were in contact with
Yeah.
KTM. I mean, how much weight of seriousness was that? I mean, they met, didn't they? Those people met with KTM.
So we've heard whether it's true or not. I don't know because if you remember, was it last year or the year before? He was supposed to be buying Grassini. So I think
Yeah, yeah,
his
yeah,
name gets thrown around a lot. I know he was part of a consortium that invests into Alpine with the likes of Anthony Joshua and a few other
yeah.
football players like Trent Alexander-Arnold and so on. So I think the appetite is there. Is he going to purchase KTM? I mean, that's serious money. I know he's not short of a bob or two, but
But that's
we're
still
we're not
2 billion
talking.
quid.
Yeah, we're not talking a few million, are we, to buy a factory like that? We're talking serious, maybe what, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. I wouldn't know.
I
With how
think
many
you'd have
people
to
they
be
employ,
buying a percentage, wouldn't it? There's no way you can afford to.
you'd think so.
Yeah, it'd be a percentage thing. But I liked it. I mean, people. I hate it when you see, and you must agree with this. I hate it when people say, "I don't want Lewis." I don't like him. Stay away from bikes. You're a this. You're a that. You're a.
Absolutely, yeah, I
I
agree.
can't stand it. I mean, I know you're. I mean, you like Lewis anyway, and I like Lewis. But even if you don't like Lewis, how can you be that short-sighted? Someone like Lewis Hamilton, where in the four-wheeled world are obsessed. And most of them, I'd say a lot of them, only want to know about car race or
Mm,
four. If you have arguably the world's greatest ambassador for car racing,
yeah,
showing, oh look, I also do this. I'm also involved in this. This is cool. Two wheels. Did you not know about it? Oh, well, come and watch a race, or
That's
what
it.
this race is. I mean, why not? That's the we're trying to get it mainstream. Lewis Hamilton is the only person that's going to do that away from Netflix.
Massively. Well, I don't even think Netflix has got the kind of reach he has if we're talking seriously for a minute. I mean, you look at the followers he's got on social media, he can push an audience to somewhere without a doubt. But just going back to the point you made about people saying, stay away, you this, that, and the other, he's got other investments. Other sports stars have other investments.
Yeah.
They don't pump money in and all of a sudden say, okay, you've got to operate this way. He's what, an investor in, is it the Broncos in the NFL team?
I think
He's not got he's not
has he
going
only
over to
got
them and
five?
saying this is how you're going to start playing football, has he? He's got,
No, no, no,
if
no.
it saves KTM, it's a massive positive for us as race fans. We've got 4 additional bikes still on the grid because let's face it, Tech 3 are going to have to find something else. I mean, if we go down to, losing another 2 bikes off the grid, we're
Yeah,
going more towards, was it 2008 when there's like 12 bikes on the grid?
yeah. It was 08, 09, 10. I think 11 was the worst. I think it was 17 bikes, and then
Oh,
in
okay. So
2012
it's not as low as I
it was
thought it
still
was.
bad. I mean, it was still not great. And then 2012 came and we had a full grid, but that was because, as you said, 12 bikes were 2012 prototypes, and then you had the rest were CRT bikes,
That's it. Yes.
which were basically extremely high tuned superbike engines with a prototype chassis around it.
Which kept the costs down and got teams in, but
It
it's
had
not,
to happen. Yeah,
it wasn't MotoGP, was it? You had 12 bikes actually going around full chat as fast as they could go. And CRTs, you had a whole different championship for it. To me, we're talking endurance racing when you go like that. And, the multiple classes of
yeah.
GT racing. That's not bikes, is
No,
it?
it
So,
wasn't ideal. I didn't like it. Thankfully, it didn't really last that long. I think the last year really it was only 2 years, wasn't it? Really, 20, maybe 3 years. 2015, it was starting to sort of disappear. But yeah, I do recall the sort of hybrid one. Do you remember the Yamaha, the forward racing Yamaha with Alicia Spiver and Colin Edwards
yes.
in 2014? So that was like a 2012 M1 chassis. And then I think it had the engine as well. But yeah, but anyway, we'll go far afield there. But yeah, hopefully, the sport doesn't have to do something like that to fill in KTM's void. We know it might get BMW, but we'll have to see. Now that's going to be something to cover this year.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Honda HRC have released their first non-Repsol Honda livery. What did you think?
As a purist, I can't say I was a massive fan. However, we are getting BSB vibes from it, which I think sort of brings it back.
Yes.
The red, white, and blue on there. I know red's traditionally Ducati in the MotoGP paddock, but Honda have used red for many years. So to see it, I thought I'm a fan. I am a fan. It's better than the sort of mishmash they had last year.
Oh, it was awful.
Um,
Yeah.
you definitely won't miss it. I'm looking at it now and just seeing Castrol back on it as well. Okay, we're not, the white Castrol bike of Edwards in the early 2000s, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Thing is,
getting the
LCR
BSB
already do that.
vibes.
LCR already do that. So I mean,
This is true.
I'm hoping they do that again. But yeah, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a weird Castrol logo at the bottom. It's
It is a
um,
bit odd, especially with all the red around it. I know obviously Castrol's got red in it, but I
yes.
don't know. There's something off about it, and I can't tell you what it is. Um, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll wake up and think, oh, that's what it is. But either way, I'm just happy it's there and they have got a partner. I know obviously LCR, as you said, I've had it for many years. I know Callan. Who else ran the Castrol? Was it Zarco this year?
Was that LCR? Yeah. The Castrol livery was well, they've been a part of LCR for a long time.
Yeah, because I remember Cal running a really nice
Oh,
one.
Cal, sorry, beg your pardon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But obviously we're not talking a satellite team now. Oh, it's like they're on the full factory bike. Um,
yeah.
Maybe it's a bit wrong of me as a bit of a fanboy, thinking, oh, it's maybe got a bit more gravity to it with them being there. I don't know. I like to see it. I like to see them back in the paddock.
I
Uh,
do. The Castrol Honda liveries, everyone likes it. It's timeless, really. It works in any bike.
mm,
Look at the RC45s from 1999. Maybe it works better on them, but that's maybe because I'm old and I just think it looks better on an old bike. Having said that, if you have the spiky Castrol livery brought back on a bike with wings, it's with Zarco on it. It looked wicked.
mm.
But yeah, I know what you mean about BSB vibes with this new Castrol Honda. Sorry, what is it? HRC Honda H. What is it? What have they called the team now? HRC Castrol Honda. No, H Castrol Honda HRC MotoGP or something like that. Anyway, but it looks a bit like
Oh, Honda
Zandvoort.
HRC Castrol.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's a bit, yeah, weird one.
yeah, a bit of a weird one. But yeah, it's nice for them to, as you said, at least they've got a partner.
Yes.
They've got some form of title sponsor, in a way.
I mean,
But
don't get me wrong. I know HRC can afford it. I've seen other people commenting, and
oh, of course
might
they
get a
can.
few comments on this saying, "Oh, well, they need the money." Well, they don't. HRC, okay, everyone does need money, but HRC have probably got the biggest racing budget out of all the factories going. They traditionally spent more than everyone else. They're not going to sit there and think, "Okay, we can't afford it." They might sit there and say, "Well, what's the point? We're right at the back of the field. Is it still selling all of our bikes in Eastern Asia?" Racing's still got an appeal to it, absolutely. So we've got to hope that they hold on for that. But there might come a time where seeing their bikes riding around at the back of the grid, and I think it was at Texas where Luca Marini was really far behind. They might think, well, actually, it looks a bit embarrassing.
There is that. At least, I mean, yeah, yeah, I thought it was worse when you had the extremely, day glow Repsol Hondas, the fluorescent. Look at me, I'm a massive title sponsor, and at the back of the grid.
Yeah,
It's made no sense. That was one of my all-time favorite liveries. A proper fluorescent Repsol with glowing, red wheels and orange wheels. It was a shame last year. It didn't. Honestly, I don't even count last year's livery.
no, I don't really know what happened there. I know they were breaking off and they were going to have less space on the bike, but to me, you want to go out with a bang. Repsol Honda and the sort of fluorescent livery you mentioned, you still you know, associate that with success. You think
Yeah,
of Stoner, Marquez, Pedrosa, Rossi. They're all people that won on the Repsol livery and were
yeah,
very successful with it. I mean, you've
yeah.
got like Doohan and Crivier, but theirs was a little bit different. There's a bit more green in there. Um, but
Yes,
modern
yeah,
audiences, Repsol is associated with success.
it
So
is.
to
Yeah, I mean,
get rid of it completely was, uh,
even F1 fans that don't even sort of vaguely know about MotoGP or Repsol, that's the bikes thing. That's the
that's it. Yeah.
yeah, and they know that they win. So it's storms for the success. It's like a household name in bikes. Real shame, and then now it is gone. For 2 years, when Marquez comes back and obviously wins two more championships.
Do you know
That's
what?
the fairy tale, of course.
It would be, yeah. And even as a Rossi fan, obviously there's a
Yes.
bit of a needle there. I do like how Marquez has come back and won. I know
Yeah.
there's others out there that are like, oh, you shut up, shouldn't be saying that as a Rossi fan. But if you think what that kid's gone through, his arm, well, let's face it, we didn't know if he was going to race again. He was in that bad shape, kept coming back, getting injured, going away again. To come back and win was a fairy tale, but to come back and be competitive, like seriously competitive, I mean, you couldn't write it. Like that is a Netflix documentary waiting to be made.
Yeah. It's a shame it wasn't made last year, but never mind.
Yeah, but even so, I think it showed the sort of determination he's got to win to go to Grassini. When people started talking about it, it's like there's no way Marquez, the Marquez that's been a factory rider ever since he stepped into the MotoGP class, is going to go to a satellite team. Well, there was some humble pie eaten that day because he
I,
did.
I still couldn't believe he was that desperate though. That's the thing. He was literally that desperate. And people were saying, nah, he'll be getting gifted new parts from Ducati. And I don't think he ever did. And maybe one day we'll find out more that he did get a few bits here and there.
Yeah,
That sort of thing you hear in a documentary in 5, 10 years time, isn't it?
sure.
But I mean, if he did, and he's still where he was, then hopefully well, then we want. Why didn't he go on to win more races? He did win 2 races, but you could tell by the way of some of the shapes of the wings, and obviously the power wasn't the same as 24. He said it wasn't, and you could tell it wasn't by the stats on the timesheets now and again. If you looked at the top speeds,
And I think it was impressive just what he did anyway. If you look at the
oh
other,
yeah,
um, he was on the GP23, right?
yes, yeah,
If you look at the other GP23s, they
way back,
weren't anywhere near him. So I think that just shows he's still got it, even on a brand new bike, which generally you'd expect a rider, even someone with the caliber of Marquez, to struggle for at least the first quarter, first half of the season. And he wasn't far off hitting the ground running.
No, I thought he would. I honestly thought he'd win a race earlier on. To be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, speaking of winning a race, we go back briefly to KTM. Pedro never won a race last year. We haven't got to speak to
Oh,
that.
don't. That
And I
hurts.
actually thought he would win a race, and
Yeah,
he
me too.
definitely should have won a couple of sprints. Um, and I'm
Early
annoyed
on,
he
it
didn't
looked
really.
very promising. It really did.
He did. He should have won. He should have won both races in Motegi. Honestly, he was
Mm.
that. I think that was one of his strongest weekends leading up to the sprint. Pole position. It was a pole, wasn't it? Yeah, pole position for Pedro, and then he was leading the sprint. Yeah, I mean, you could almost argue that Ralph Fernandez was as close as Pedro was to winning a race this year when he crashed
Yeah,
into California. But I think it will happen from this year.
got to. But
Have to.
well, we say that unless it's circumstantial, we've still got four very fast Ducatis on the grid, which are all going to be chomping at the bit to win a race. I mean, we've got Pecco and Mark in the factory team, which you don't need to say a lot about that.
No,
And then, okay, we've got some rookies in there, but they're on the machinery that can win.
I mean, I can't believe I'm almost annoyed. Um, I mean, I'm happy to be. We said this before on the pod with Alex, co-host, who he is back next week, folks. As you know, he's gone through a bit of a tough time, but we always talk about this thing with the Ducatis. When you're a rookie, it's almost too easy. Now, for Aldeguer, who's had a really, I thought his year was terrible last year compared to his previous year. He was signed very early
Mm.
by Ducati, of course.
Yeah, very early.
They did just wanted to make sure that if it was purely him, no one else can have him, which is
Mm.
fine. But then last year you had two more Boscasqueras in the grid, and they straight away showed, oh, he's. I think it showed that he's not that special. And as soon as you put a Aguirre or Garcia on it, like, oh, he's just as fast. They're just as fast. Well, they're faster and they won more.
Yeah.
Then by that time it was too late because Aldeguer was already signed. And it was going to be, it would have cost up to seven figures, I'm guessing, to buy him out of it, but to pick someone else. So Ducati and Grassini probably, well, actually it was Ducati,
I
wasn't
was
it?
going to say, yeah, it wasn't Grassini that pulled the
Grassini.
trigger.
So they probably thought, no, let's just go with him anyway. Otherwise, it's going to cost us nearly, and they said Audi would have to pay £1 million or whatever it was, maybe more.
I'm with
Um,
you. I have no idea why you signed so early. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch Moto 2 last year as much as I normally do.
okay.
So I missed bits and pieces. But obviously, when you start talking to other friends that watch it, they're filling you in. Started paying a bit more attention. I was like, this is a guy that's been signed quite early on. And normally, for someone to get signed that early, you expect them to be doing really well. He's still fast, but Ducati to put their eggs in that basket so early on was quite incredible. And I may have got a mistake early. It's three factory bikes from Ducati this year, right? Because it's only Digi that's got the other one.
Correct.
Or did no? So one didn't go to Marquez at Grassini.
No, it didn't.
Right.
It's just
Okay.
did you, yeah. But what I was getting at is the fact that being a rookie, that you didn't have a very good 2024 Aldeguer after dominating the last three or four races of 23.
Yeah.
He got that contract, and last year he made silly mistakes. He took some riders out and
Mm.
his own championship really, and he still kept this contract. And he gets to have a GP24, one of the greatest Grand Prix motorcycles ever made. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a year old, but he still gets it, and it's an established bike. He'll have all of Mark's. He'll be able to look at Mark's data from last year. He'll be able to look at Alex Marquez's data now, and I just think that's you're a lucky guy. I mean,
And there's a good team around him as well. He's
he's
not
got a good
going
team.
into an outfit that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to, knock out the silliness of last year very quickly. Because obviously,
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
team with Pretty Penny. And look, we could be looking at a new Fabio Quartararo because I mean, look, Fabio won two
Yeah,
races.
I was going to go there next. He didn't really set the world alight in Moto 2, did he?
He didn't. He actually won his race on two Boston Skewers. I think it was the speed up they call it at the time, didn't he? And then the rest is history once he touched an M1. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. So I'll, I always say on the pod, I'm like, okay, I'll be quiet till it happens, and we'll see what he delivers. But I mean, you could argue we could have had Joe Roberts in MotoGP. We could have had
I'd love to see that.
Garcia. No, but I mean, I'm saying that could have happened, and then
Yeah, sure.
Roberts, and then we could. I mean, I'm glad the world champion went to Moto 2. That's important. Very good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which,
And
by the way, folks. I'm
It's on a good
loving that.
bike.
Yeah, I mean, I had a picture a second ago. That helmet, folks, is one of my favorite MotoGP, and I love it absolutely. And I'm not even an RI fan because I think they just look
It's giving
old
me
hat
Nicky
now.
Hayden vibes.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah, yeah, with the red, the blue. I know what you mean. And if I had my way, we'd probably sell it in our store. But we've currently got on the RI stand at work. With what we got. We've got a Keo rep, and yeah, a couple of generic ones that RI send us every year to sell. We've got a Dean Harrison rep from the show we send, but not many reps. We don't sell too many of them, but I think that one needs to have. Oh, we did have. Sorry, we had a Nakagami as well.
Ah, okay. I thought he was going to say you had the Maverick Green Top Gun sort of one, which
No,
I
that
can't
wouldn't
really
sell.
get behind. Yeah, I can't. I get it. Like, you've got to use your riders' liveries, but I probably would have used the season helmet, not just the sort of like
Yeah,
washed military green.
a
It's
one-off.
just, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. So anyway, going back. Sorry, that was my fault. Um, but I'm glad he got into MotoGP. But yeah, Joe
Me
Roberts.
too.
I mean, we've covered some of this with Alex, but obviously this is a subject. I mean, do you think Ralph Fernandez deserves another year? Could it have been Joe Roberts? And then we could have seen more sponsors on that Trackhouse bike. You could have had more interest from the US market, the US TV viewer, and just more sponsors in general. I mean, would it have
It's
been because obviously they really rate Trackhouse really rates and Brivio really rates Ralph Fernandez.
Well, that's what I
I
was
mean,
actually coming to. He's been around a bit. He knows what he's looking at, so they must see something that we don't. It's a tough, like in Moto 2, let's face it, he was rapid.
yeah,
We can't take that away from him. Has he lost that? You'd think probably not. But we've had rapid Moto 2 riders before that couldn't cut it in MotoGP. The first one I think of is Tito Rabat. What was he? Two-time world champion in Moto 2?
no, he won one championship, but he was an established rider at the front for many years before that.
And
Yeah, yeah,
he, okay, maybe he didn't have the machinery underneath him, but he never showed the sort of speed he had in Moto 2. You've got Johan Zarco that took however many years to get his first win. He definitely was a back-to-back champion. I remember watching him, and he
he
was
was.
again very
Yeah,
quick. Paul
yeah. I mean,
Espargaro,
Zarco was. Well, he was meant to be Yamaha's Marquez.
that's it, yeah. And he had some races where he could have won. I think was it Danny Pedrosa got his last win over Zarco in Valencia one season. He was there sometimes, but
That's right.
Moto
Went
2
down
he
to
was
the last
cleaning
lap.
up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
So
took Zarco a long time to win a Grand MotoGP race.
that's
Massive.
it. And he's still a quick rider. You can't take that away from him. So who knows? Maybe they see something we don't, but I'm fully with you. The American market is something that needs to be tapped into MotoGP. It's definitely a lot more popular over there now than it ever was. We're getting more races. We've got an American team, and it's not, a new. I say a new team. Trackhouse aren't new in the motorsport space.
No,
They've already got a following. When they say, "Okay, we're going to now start doing this," you've already got a fan base that will keep an eye on what they're doing anyway.
yeah.
So it's having Joe Roberts in there again, it adds that extra step, doesn't it? They are very, patriotic. You used to see the amount of fans for Nicky over there.
I
Yeah,
think it was a missed opportunity. Personally,
massively.
I get the Aguirre choice having the world champion. Some people think he's a bit overrated.
He's
Um,
Moto 2 world champion. You can't
he was
really do
nearly
much
Moto
more,
3
can you?
champion as well. So yeah, nearly a double champion. He should have won the Moto 2 championship a couple of years ago as well. Uh, but yeah, but he binned it. It was a pan. So yeah, Aguirre, everything he's touched, he's ended up being the top dog.
And we need a Japanese ride, let's face it.
Yes, we do. No, we do. I mean, to be fair, in fact, actually, that's a very good point. I think it's probably more important for MotoGP being realistic on what their biggest market is at the moment, which is Asia. You need an Asian rider. Well, you got two new ones this year. One that's really provenly quick, and by the looks of it, maybe next week, as I said, folks don't get carried away. He will be quick again this year, and maybe even quicker in the future. And then you got Chantra as well. I think it's more important. I mean, realizing the Asian market. I mean, the Sepang and the Indonesian Grand Prix, the Thai Grand Prix, the attendance is through the roof. They go bonkers.
Yeah.
You can hear it over. You can hear it over the cameras. Over the mics are picking up the screams and that. It's almost like the Beatles in the '60s. For some people, just go berserk for this sport. So yeah, we have to have. an Asian rider. It's good to have a couple of Asian riders in the sport. So yeah,
Absolutely.
so you're quite right. But yeah, I mean, that's a given. That it already, you could argue though, it sells itself already in those countries. So
Yeah, it does, and I think with the Asian market, they have always been big fans of whatever drivers or riders are there. You see it with the motorsports as well. Whenever you get like the F1 going over there, they go overboard. It was the same.
yeah,
I said for the Japanese race and things like that, Malaysian races, Chinese races, they all really get behind the different drivers and riders. And I don't think it really matters too much that they haven't got a home driver or rider. I know obviously it's bike podcast, but MotoGP is definitely more ingrained in Eastern Asia than the other motorsports. So I think it's quite key that those riders are there, especially a Japanese rider. We've got two Japanese factories. You know, I don't doubt there's fanboys like me in Japan thinking, yeah, we've got a home hero to cheer on. We're missing a British rider, and as much as I like Fabio, Bears, and everyone else, you still want a home rider.
you do, yeah, yeah. That's a long way away. Oh, and that's also another podcast probably as well. A British rider.
Well, I'm
Uh,
hoping Jake Dixon can pull something out the bag, but
I
we'll
want to see what
see.
he's like on a Bostascura because don't forget there was an extra two Bostascuras last year, and Iger and Garcia, and this year it's doubled again. So we've got eight, no, six. I want to. No, eight. We've got another four Bostascuras because Mark VDS now have Bostascuras. So Dixon is now teaming with the Philip Salach. Salach has got to book his ideas up because when he went to Mark VDS, I thought brilliant. He's been good on the Grassini Moto2 bike, and being Mark VDS, the people around you, the team is very organised. You're around a lot of incredibly talented personnel, and you'll probably
Mm,
be driven to start winning races. It never happened. So this year he's got to book his ideas up because if Dixon gets on with that Bostascura chassis early on and doesn't send it to the moon at Qatar again, or early on in the
yeah,
season in general, then
yeah,
maybe,
he made it
maybe,
difficult for himself, did he?
God, yeah. But yeah, speaking of Bostascuras, before we wrap up, folks, the new Pramac Yamaha Moto2 team also launched at the same time with
Yeah,
Arbolino and Izan Guevara. His career saved, if you will, because I thought, I can't believe, what a championship he won in 2022, beating Garcia in Moto3. That was incredible. And then again, Moto2 showing that it is the hardest category
mm,
thinkable. He hasn't done a lot apart from this year. Sorry, last year Guevara came back a bit and has been saved by this new team. Arbolino's, left Matt VDS as Dixon came up because I think this team he must have known it was coming. And I
absolutely.
think this has produced one of the best looking liveries. It reminds me of, you ever look at Marcus Simoncelli's 2005 125 Aprilia? I really like. Some people think really, but
I was going to say, all I can think of when you think of Marcus Simoncelli is the red and white and the cheetah print.
yes, yeah, of course,
My age is definitely getting the better of me in terms of memory. And I know someone will be like, oh, you're fine, blah blah blah. But I think the seasons meld into one so quickly. Like I didn't see that long ago. Martin was it winning the title in Sepang in Moto 3, and he's now the GP champion. And that to me feels like yesterday.
I know, I
So I
know.
lose track of results in years so quickly. It's unreal.
And if you look at like 2018, the riders on that Moto3 grid now, they're all in, all the top dogs are all in MotoGP now.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll be the same in another 5, 6 years. I'm not sure because that was obviously a big generation shift then.
Mm.
But it's nuts. I know what you mean. But yeah, if you look, folks, at the 2000 Google Simon Shelley 2005, and yeah, it does remind me of that. And there's something about navy on race bikes. Maybe it's just my face, but yeah.
No, yeah, I see what you mean. There's a lot more white on it, but
Yes, there is. Yeah, but it just looks classy. So
it
yeah,
does. It's very clean.
yeah, yeah,
It's not like. Do you remember was it like the Yamaha Mastercamp liveries of the VR46 team? They always seemed a little bit messy, and
yeah.
that's coming from a Rossi fan, but I
I don't
like
really know what
these.
that team actually achieved. To be fair,
Not a
I
lot.
mean, I don't really understand. It just helps riders away from the academy, which is sort of half dead itself anyway. Now it just seems to be a
Well, the Mastercamp was supposed to be East Asian riders, was it not?
yeah. But originally, was it? Was it actually? Was actually that philosophy from the beginning? or was it?
There was two teams, wasn't there? You had the Moto2 team, which was the proper VR46 one, Sky,
Yeah,
etc. That disbanded, but they carried on with the Yamaha Master Camp, which was supposed to be Yamaha's
yeah,
talent
yeah,
funnel, which I think they've done with Pramac. And it, as you said, it does look fantastic. I like the light blue, and to me, the classic Yamaha blue. It's got that deep sort of
yeah. Gulwars, almost like the Gulwar.
yes,
Yeah,
that's the one. Um, I'm a big fan, and the Pramac looks really nice on it as well. It seems weird seeing Pramac on a Yamaha properly, not on the MotoGP bar where it's all here, there, and everywhere. It's very clean. I'm a big fan.
I was hoping because the Pramac livery looks brilliant. MotoGP one, excuse me. This was released first, Moto 2 one. I thought, oh god, please can that be on the GP bike? And obviously, I'd be forgetting there that Prima exists and Alpine
Yeah,
exists. So,
and I think
yeah, and then
Prima pumped some serious money into the Yamaha factory because they're also sponsoring Rins and Quattararo.
are they
It's on
like
their
personal sponsor?
chins,
It's on there, is it
the helmets, yeah,
on the
both for
helmets, right?
Fabio and Alex.
And then I thought I was an eagle eye with the KTM. So fair play. Nice.
Well, I just noticed it 'cause I thought, oh, Prima's moving around a little bit because
Yeah,
obviously last year they were only on the Pramac bikes and now they're on both the Pramac Yamahas and the factory Yamahas. But there's a few bits I've noticed, and I don't know if you have as well, Jimmy, in terms of leathers and helmets.
yeah,
So again, Anorak seeing these sort of things. You've got Miller that's gone back to Dainese,
yeah,
but wearing Alpine Stars lid.
yeah.
You've got um, Oliveira that's gone to HJC. And it's no secret Alex Rins was going to Ixon anyway. We
Yeah.
saw that, I think, the back end of last year. But even Danny Pedrosa's now wearing Dainies.
Gone back to then easy.
When did
Yeah.
you ever think you'd see that again?
I know. That was 2006, the last time he was staying easy athlete.
See,
His
I
first.
only ever known him as Alpine Stars. So to me, it's baffling to see him change.
I know, but yeah, at the end of the day, these riders get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds. Well, in MotoGP they do to for these deals. I don't know if Danny's on that sort of money when he's not a full time rider. I know. I know. Careful. I heard this from a rep of a. I know Cal's HJC deal was north of 500,000.
But they weren't really in the paddock at that point, were they? In terms of in GP,
No,
MotoGP.
the new Rafa One HJCs were just. I think Cal had a Rafa One HJC. This is a racing lid, by the way, folks. What on earth are you talking about? He had one of those before you could buy it, like a year and a half
Yes.
before you could buy it. So
And
yeah, but
obviously,
yeah, I think it was like a promote it. I think all the Red Bull rookies now use HJC, so that's a nice little marketing thing for them. But
but
yeah,
they paid Fabio a ton of money to take it as well, didn't they?
they did. Now that was silly money.
I can
Away
get it.
from
He's a popular rider. He's big on the socials, which for a brand like that you want to do because I don't know if you've seen it. You see on like the Instagram shorts, YouTube shorts, TikTok, etc. You got these bikes that are like, oh, it's all about the pista. Then well, you got Fabio sharing his HSC, and all of a sudden that's a bit more of a cooler helmet. You got the Red Bull designs on there, which famously Red Bull don't really put their logo on any motorcycle helmet. If you buy a
no,
Marquez rep or anything else, it's never
no.
coming with that. But they did the Grand Prix
They
liveries.
did the Jerez and the Austin. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So if you're looking for a race lid, folks, you like the Red Bull logo. HJC is the only place you can get it unless you go to eBay and whack a sticker on it for a tenner.
Yeah, that's it.
You should be sure Ryan's tried before. Just finally, folks, I was corrected by this the other day. If you're looking to go to Silverstone MotoGP and you're gutted that Day of Champions isn't happening, there is going to be something happening. They're saying there's going to be something else happening to, well, not replace it, but there will be other things that the charity Two Wheels for Life will be standing in doing other things throughout the weekend. Watch that space because if you don't want to go because it's not there, apparently there is something else happening. So yeah, I don't know. Are you going Ryan this year? Have you decided yet or not?
I am. I bought my tickets before that happened, and I probably still would have gone. It's a big shame. It's a massive shame, and I personally, I know obviously we're trying to be positive about what they're probably doing
Yeah,
instead. I can see it being the Saturday auction. Honestly, is probably what they'll do instead. So they have the big Saturday auction on the stage with the riders coming out. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what we used to. and it's a busy weekend anyway. You know, you've got the riders that go and do their personal appearances at the actual manufacturer stages. Um, but we're back to, you know, those people queuing last year 2 hours before the Aprilia riders were coming in. Do you
Yeah,
really want to do that?
yeah,
And I think it's taken away a bit of shine from the event. I know that might sound really dramatic because you're supposed to go for the racing, but it kicked it off nicely. You know, you
yeah,
go in, have a mooch around the paddock, see what's what, you know, get selfies and everything else. And you got a lot of fans that did it. I know some people did it just to sell, but it gave you access for not a lot of money. Now, if you want access, you're paying north of what, 500, 700 quid for a day pass
yeah, yeah.
into the paddock.
That's the thing. That's a good point. I don't know how you're gonna because I think you'll be able to get into the paddock like a normal race now. Like every other Grand Prix does a Thursday pit lane walk.
Yeah.
They'll still surely
Well, they do the paddock days. It's not just pit lane. So I think it's on Eventbrite. They've done them for a
yeah,
long time in the European races. I've noticed
yeah,
they've started doing them. Oh, and Phillip Island and the America races. But I noticed they started doing them for the Asian races as well. And again, not a lot of money. I think it's 70 euros. But their access is a bit longer. I think it's like 4 or 3 p.m. till 7. So once the riders
yeah,
done all their media stuff, they're a bit more free.
yeah,
Whereas in the
yeah,
UK, it was sort of in the middle of the day, wasn't it? Like 11 till 3.
yeah. And the pit lane walk is supposed to be 2:15 or 2 till 3, and it was 15 minutes late. I don't know if you remember doing it this year, and we got 40 minutes, 45 minutes tops down pit lane. The only thing, I mean, obviously, there was a 75th anniversary reveal
Yeah,
for the liveries, which was cool. That was nice. But the photographers are in the way of everyone's view
of
of them.
course.
Um, and it was annoying. I mean, I've been to quite a few Grand Prix now across Europe, and Jerez was brilliant. Most of these pit lane walks, folk, before I mean, Alex and Spider, whoever in the coming weeks and months will talk you through this. You mean Alex are going to do punter's perspective in that, but when you go to these Grand Prix, they'll always have a paddock walk. I mean, like as Ryan was saying on Eventbrite or something, whether it be through the website or through that, most races do a pit lane walk of some description. And Silverstone's the only one where it happens as early as 2 or 3 in the afternoon before the bikes have all been built. Now, if you go to Jerez, the pit lane walk is 5 to 6 p.m. The bikes are built and they are wheeled out and started. Now, if you've never stood next to a Grand Prix bike that's been started, it is one of
It's
the best.
incredible.
If you are into motorsport, it is. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's earth rumbling. It goes through you, and it's loud enough trackside. Let her know when you're in the pit lane. And what an experience that was at Jerez 2023. Um, Brilliant. Didn't pay a penny. It was chucked in with the ticket. Can you believe? You had to.
Wow.
It was first come first serve. You queued up outside the front entrance of Jerez circuit. It was 38 degrees actually, so probably burnt. And there was actually a girl passed out actually in front of us.
Oh,
Bless her.
blimey heck.
But yeah, that was fantastic. So I mean, I will go to Brno and they're going to do it as well, but I don't know what time of day. But the thing is, Silverstone, if they do it this way that every other track does at that time of day, the bikes will be out in the pit lane and started.
Well, they
Brilliant.
used to do it many years ago on the Saturday night, sort of 6 o'clock ish, and you used to have
Yeah,
to pay for the ticket and everything else. But most of the time, the garages were shut. The only ones that really came out, I think 2014, you had Yamahas come out for a little bit, but it was Suzuki that was the ones out there giving it, you know, the beans. I think
yeah.
it was Iannoni's bike. They get it out and they're all having a bit of giggle between themselves, and they proper let it rip. And you thought, wow,
No,
because they were on the end garage in between the split, you
there's
could get
the old pits. Yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah, you could get fully around it. So obviously, there's a massive crowd around there, and they were just giving it, you know, obviously they warmed it up first, but they weren't shy with it. Um, whether they
Yeah,
can do that with the wing, I don't know, but I, I don't know. I think there's going to be some changes, and I think that also the date's not going to help. Just before TT, a lot of
honestly, it is a big issue that. And if there's any listeners or viewers that think, well, they're different, but in the UK, the TT is our British. To a lot of people, it might as well be the British Grand Prix
yeah,
because they'd rather go for the TT than MotoGP, and that's before these dates have changed, by the way.
and it's the weather as well. I mean,
Yeah,
May is a lottery, as you know. We could either be in for very sunny, high
yeah,
temperatures,
maybe.
or it'll be freezing cold and wet. There will be no in between. I really hope it's sunny. I want it to succeed.
I do as
And
well. I do as well, massively.
the one other caveat, just to jump this one in there as well, because I think
Well,
it's quite a big
no,
one,
no, it's fine.
is I don't believe Monster Energy are signed on yet as the sponsor. Now, I'm sure you're aware the past couple of years they've carried the show. So off track, they've got the freestyle motocross going on. They've got the drift show by the old
Yeah,
pits.
yeah, they have it.
They really do put on an event, and they've got the DJ stage and everything else. If they're not going, it's going to be very quiet.
It's going to be eerie because that area, they hold the show. Is the good way of putting it.
Yeah,
Behind that
absolutely.
stage,
Off track, they
yeah,
are.
it's
Yeah,
brilliant. Since 21, they've done it, and it's been a bit of a saver, frankly, along with Day of Champions. Honestly, I mean, the racing's good. It always makes good racing, but it's just it sort of gives you
you
the
still
illusion
have a gap,
of
don't
people.
you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think any of the title sponsors does anything like that. You do have
No,
Red Bull being a title sponsor for Grand Prix, but they don't do things like this. You might get a free can of Red Bull on your way in somewhere, but that's your lot. You don't get Monster just do this differently, and
and
that's
they've
a
done it at Catalonia as well. They put on the same show, so
yeah.
if you
I had
do
it.
get any
Yeah,
Spanish listeners or anyone that attends that race, they'll know exactly what we're talking about if they've
yeah,
not been to Silverstone. That whole show, that whole Monster Arena, everything else
yeah.
is what's at Silverstone, and without it, we yeah, it's going to be
But
quite a bit of
Monster,
entertainment that's not there.
I wonder if Monster know about. Well, they're not stupid. They'll probably look at the attendance thing. I mean, we're
But
giving a
they're
lot
also
for Monster away here.
big involved with the TT, aren't they? I didn't think of that.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. So that staff wise, that's yeah. Again, so I think I think we had this discussion with um, Heath after the event, and we had you on, didn't we, as well?
yes.
And this time of year thing is it's there's not enough because of the TT, which, like I said, to a lot of people is like a British Grand Prix.
Mm.
We're a superbike country. We're not a Grand Prix focused country anyway for the two wheels. We had this conversation, and we were very very negative about it. But some people are like, "Oh, you still see it on the." I don't know if it's fake, but a lot of the people commenting on the Facebook posts on that Silverstone put on like a status like promoting the event, buy tickets now. Last year, all the comments were like people being horrible people, like usual, never going again.
Yeah, yeah.
This year, they're all really nice comments. No one said a bad word. I'm thinking, what's going on here? What's going on there? Are they
It
paying
is a
people to
weird
say
one.
nice things?
They do run a good event. I mean, we should clarify because obviously I'm being really grumpy as a fanboy. Silverstone do put on a good event. It's not a
That's
bad event by all means. We just haven't got the people going through the
not the
door.
people there. No, it's
But
fine. It's well organized.
if people aren't going through the door, you've got the Monster Energies, etc. They're going to say, well, is it worth it? And then you're losing more from the event.
Yeah.
It's still great to see. And I think even if, say, for example, money's an issue, Silverstone say, 2026, last race, we're not doing it anymore, and it goes back to Donington, you're going to have the same problem. Donington's not going to fix the issue. No track in the UK is going to fix the issue. We haven't got bums going on seats.
No, I think if it went back to Donington, you would have
You'd have
Bob
an
from
increase for the
Burnley.
first year.
Bob from Burnley would go back, right? He'd be like, right, you'd have that crowd coming back to a degree, but there'd be an issue before that happens, and that would be the ticket prices. They'd expect it to be the same price in 08 and 09.
No.
No, it won't be. The hosting fee will be the fucking same. Excuse me, guys. And that's what really annoys me. And we'll probably have more possession, more likely to have more possession races because it's not as fast at the end of the lap. One thing I will stand up for Donington for is the fact that it's a really short lap. So you'd see them 30 times, not 20 times in a race. There is that. You just see more of them going around. I will give them that. But then they need an overhaul of facilities. And then that's fine. But let's just
It's
hope
not a GP bike track that they've outgrown it. Even you've got Jerez, which is an absolute classic. That's at the point where they're saying, well, these bikes are a bit too big, fast, and everything else for the track. Donington's worse.
it is. I mean, there's plenty of runoff in most areas, but I mean,
It's
it's
not the runoff. I mean, for the racing, like these
the
bikes are so
racing. Yeah,
fast, they can
yeah.
turn so quick and everything else that it'd be a bit of a waste of time. Personally, there'll be people in the
Be
comments that say I
interesting.
have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think for how quick they are now, there'd be no point. Would they even get out of fourth gear? Maybe on the main straight.
great point, actually. Yeah, they'll probably hit fifth. I mean, going down the main straight, and then obviously there's Dunlop, the old Dunlop straight, the bridge, and that, but it doesn't exist anymore. And then
But
yeah,
that straight's not even that long anymore with the S, is it? So it's
no, I mean they got the. I mean, then again, they eased that, didn't they? The Foggy S's used to be a lot slower, and then they
yeah.
took they eased that, so that'd be quicker. But yeah, I would actually be quite intrigued if they ever did a test there. The lap times would be ridiculous.
Moto 3 would be incredible there. That's one thing I will say.
Yes, it would be perfect for it, wouldn't it?
It is the track built for a Moto 3 bike. It
Yeah,
would be non-stop handlebars to handlebars all the way around.
yeah, yeah. But let's hope it doesn't come. Well, I wouldn't mind as long as it's organised. But yeah, that is a good point about Monster Energy. I mean, I hope there's a good title sponsor that looks after British Grand Prix and it carries on because I can't imagine MotoGP without it at all. Do you know what?
No, me
Before
neither.
Ryan from Grassroots to Grand Prix, who's a friend of this podcast, has been on before. He might be there. He does not like Silverstone at
No,
all.
I know. I've had the same conversation with him before.
Yeah, and he said the other day to me, I feel like I should because we need to support, and if we don't, we might lose it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good point. I might put this to Alex, who also started to really go off Silverstone, but at the same time, Worley doesn't want to go to Donington. And he was like, I might persuade him to just like, look, we have to support it. We should do it. I mean, I want to do it anyway for the pod, but I want to go there regardless. But persuading Alex to go is going to be difficult. But I think it's important for we're not obsessed with MotoGP as lot, this small crowd in the UK that still watches it. But I think we need to keep going.
I think what doesn't help as well this year is going to be the increase in price. I've noticed quite a few people have, especially with the Eurosport stuff where they're watching BSB, they've got to pay the full 30 quid now. So whether that has an effect on the MotoGP viewers, I'm not sure.
Well, we should have probably mentioned that before. It's a good point, actually. That's everything is on one channel, which makes these things user friendly. But that's a price that bikers won't want to pay because I think you get Eurosport free with Sky or certain
I'm
packages.
not sure.
Because I haven't had it for a long time. But Eurosport was very cheap to have. If you just wanted that, then you could just watch your BSB and World Supers. And if you had TNT on top, fine, great, you can watch GP. But now it's going to have to be what £31 a month,
Something like that, yeah.
and you can't. This is what I was saying today. You cannot have a subscription with them, which just is the bike. There's BT Sports. Sorry, BT Sports. Show me age there.
TNT Sports,
Sports
yeah.
1 and 2. There isn't a TNT MotoGP channel.
No.
You can't just buy that channel, or which I think is a shame. I think if they had a TNT Bikes channel that just catered for those, or TNT Bikes 1 and 2 in case it was the same weekend, and
I
then
think you'd end up paying the same money anyway.
Do you think? Do you not think it would be like $14.99 a month?
No, I think they've got to make money back. I think saying, oh, we're throwing the football and everything else in there is more just, oh, we've got people that perhaps wouldn't normally subscribe.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Well,
I'm subscribed and I don't watch any of it apart from MotoGP. So they can put whatever they want on there. But like the cycling's just moved. I can't say I'm going to watch the cycling, but it's part of the subscription. So it's like, oh, this is why it's value for money.
yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for football, we wouldn't have a channel probably because everyone
Yeah.
pays for that. So I don't know, but yeah, well, watch this space, folks. It is happening. It's just that I mean, the title sponsor thing. That's a really good point, Ryan's brought about Monster Energy. You think why? Well, it's because of the activities they bring for you to watch.
That's all it is for me. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying I like to see the Monster brand everywhere. It's more just they do bring free off-track entertainment for people. So when you're saying value for money on the ticket, well, it is because you're getting freestyle motocross and a drift show going on, and they do give it, everything. They're not just messing around.
No, they're athletes. They are. They're professionals at what they do, and it's impressive.
And they've got some of the Red Bull X Fighters riders that sometimes turn up. I can't think of the guy's name. It's not Robbie Madison. It's he's got long hair, blooming heck. He was there this year. But we're not. But this is the caliber athlete we're talking about that's doing the freestyle motocross. Yeah. It's not, Bob from down the road. It's a champion. Do they get championships for that? I don't know, but
they're professional Monster Energy athletes that do that for a living. They do. They go around the world and do that. Yeah, they're out there. There is a championship. I'm pretty sure there is. But yeah, that's what it is. Also, my colleague at work who now moved to a different branch of retailer I work for. He's had sports bikes his whole life. not really into MotoGP, but he managed. Of course, he was the one that in the company that won a free pass for the weekend. Of course, it wasn't me. Of course. So I was there, and I got the ticket for Day of Champions for. So I got into paddock for Thursday, but he was going in and out. I'm not really bothered. Just look at a load of trucks. I'm like, oh my god, like give it to me. But anyway, he
Yeah.
said what saved it for the weekend for him was the monster stuff.
Yeah.
He saved him for the weekend because he didn't really follow anything of the that current season to that point. So didn't really know who was who. He recognised a few liveries and whatnot, and he had a good view for Sunday. But he said if it wasn't for the Monster Arena and the stunts and the drifting, he would have said it wasn't all that. And I thought, wow, wow. I mean, if you've seen it a few races before, then it would maybe mean more to him. Or let's
Yeah.
say there was a Netflix series, or I'll go to Silverstone, then he might be having a different conversation. Who knows?
But even so, if say we just talk about Friday, and I know we're probably going on a little bit, but you get what? It's 2 hours of practice, isn't it? Or is one session 55 minutes or something really odd? Because they have practice and they have
Right. That's right. They have an hour
like
in the afternoon now.
yeah, because they have two. They call it something different, don't they? They have got actual practice and then practice that counts towards qualifying. I can't
Yeah,
remember what they call it, but
because they have an FP1 and then they have just a practice.
yeah, that's it. So you've got 2 hours of MotoGP track action, should we say,
Yeah.
for the whole day. Now, not everyone's into Moto 2 and Moto 3. I'll be honest, I don't really watch Moto 2. I watch Moto 3 because those kids are crazy.
Yep.
But trackside, Moto 2, you don't see a lot. Moto 3, they still you know, give it some.
Everything. And the rest. Yeah.
So when you have got these off-track activities, it does help. I mean, we are trying to get families back in there, and the stage entertainment is pretty dull. Let's face it. That is more, oh, let's wrap each other up in toilet paper to look like a mummy. Are you really gonna get everyone standing around watching that
Well, this
when
is the
you're
thing.
there?
A lot of people on socials just say, oh, "I'll go for racing. I don't want to see all this." But then at the same time, people have said, and this is true, like these big events now, and these to be festivals, but then
Mm,
the bike fraternity now, that's if their families involved. As you're saying, families are important. But the bike fraternity and the biggest, the most popular customer is between 13, oh, 40 and 60 years old. Sadly
that's
enough.
it.
I mean, people were saying, I had some customers in the other day talking about the NEC bike show. You look like that, and you can just see loads of bald heads. Well, that is sad. It's almost like a dying breed to a degree, and that breed don't want to listen to, as you say, silly stunt shows, sort of silly jokes on a show before the next band come on. And they don't want to have to pay 115 quid for, 140 quid for a seat. They don't want to, don't want a grandstand. Those guys live in the Donington years.
Yeah,
Uh, but we need, if we have these families and have these younger generation involved, they won't know it about that. So they'll be like, oh yeah, music as well. Oh, grandstand seat, that's nice. Oh, this is a lot cheaper than F1 by about 400 quid. This is
that's it.
really.
Yeah,
But yeah, as you said, we're rambling on now. But yeah, it's Silverstone can't just blame, and I know Stuart Pringle has blamed the lack of a British rider a few years now in interviews with various pods, and that's wearing a bit thin, I think.
I
But
don't think if Jake Dixon was there tomorrow, I don't think that's going to put another 10,000 on the gate.
no, no, if he was in the MotoGP class, you mean? Yeah, I don't think it would do. You'd maybe get 50,000, not 45, maybe.
I
If
don't think it'd even make that difference. I really
not,
don't. No, I know Cal used to say, I bring a load of people to the gate, but we're talking of prime Rossi years, so egos can be
yeah,
inflated.
yeah,
And I love Cal. Don't get me wrong. I think he's fantastic, but I don't think. Yeah, you had Cal fans turning up, but let's face it, 90% were probably Rossi fans. They were yellow for as much as you could see, and he was keeping the spotlight on the sport.
yeah.
Is Jake Dixon going to bring 5,000 tomorrow? No.
He did. He was really good with the crowd. I remember at the
He
stage.
he is. He's fantastic. Do you know what? I love Jake. I think
Yeah,
as a showman and as a rider, he can pull it off. But as
yeah.
British public, are we going to turn up? Well, I'm going to turn up anyway. But uh, are all these people going to turn up just because he's now in the Premier class? I don't think so. They might watch it on telly.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, look at how many people stay for the Moto 2. Jake Dixon looked on for a win, and I wouldn't say it cleared out, but there was definitely a few that left straight after the GP race.
Yeah, they did, which is a shame, really, because I remember watching Jake Dixon win that race, and I was just on the exit of, well, I was at Vale basically, The
I was at
Belgian.
Luffield and it went crazy.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, Luffield would have been brilliant as well. It's a shame the people went home and did that, and I'm sorry, but it serves you right.
Absolutely, but what I'm saying is, I don't think it's going to
Yeah,
make a big difference. So
no,
I agree with you. The argument does wear thin. Um, the sport is still huge in other places, so there's just something over here. But I think bikes. I know this is probably a topic for another day, but I think bikes in general in the UK are slowly dying,
they are. We
and it
get
doesn't help that it's pay per view as well,
no, and but
or subscription.
that ain't going to change, unfortunately. But yeah, the people buying bikes now, a lot of it is midlife crisis.
Couldn't
I know
believe it.
this is what I sell helmets for a living, folks. If you didn't know, that's what I do. But you still get the 17-year-olds coming in. I'm about to do my CBT. I need a helmet. I need jacket, gloves, boots, etc. So that still happens, but it's not every day. It's probably in the spring you'll get maybe two a day. That's the busyness. That's busy.
Yeah,
Two a day that a fresh face. It's a shame, really. But I think it's because the bad press bikes get in general. People confuse that with what happens on track, that really, really annoys me. Really irritates
yeah.
me. That you really think someone would stop watching Formula One if they're involved in a car crash?
No,
No. But bikes get that stigma, and that really annoys me. But it's probably natural to a lot of people to just like, okay, that's enough now. I know someone who had an accident as well, so I'm not watching bike racing either. But F1 wouldn't get that if you crashed your car.
well, it's the same with any sport. You get people that don't ever. I don't want to say walk again, but they break the leg a certain way playing football. All of a sudden, they're hobbling for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
say, "Oh, I'm not letting my kid play football because that could happen to them."
exactly. But
Uh,
bikes will get that stigma. And it's sort of that stigma that bikes related to like hooligans and just idiots making noise down the street. But again, I think the only thing that can overcome that, and I'm really obsessed with the idea, is a series like Drive to Survive. The only thing that can make MotoGP cool to a young generation. Or Lewis Hamilton buying a team, and then F1. If Liberty deal goes through, and they F1 starts sharing, retweeting MotoGP stuff like that. But again, that's something that we'll have to talk about soon on the
mm.
pod. Me and I'll have to cover that because that is important. That deal goes through. I hope it goes through because they haven't heard anything for a while about the Liberty deal.
I
Starting to
don't
get
think Dawn help themselves. I think they're very money orientated, whereas Liberty because they've got to sell quite a bit of the F1 stake, right, to make the deal go through. They can't be sole owners of F1.
yeah,
But
because of the company competition laws in the EU or something, isn't it?
yeah, but what I'd like to see, and I know a lot of purists are like, no, it's a bad idea, is a crossover event. Have them race at the same track on the same weekend. It will
Yeah,
be crazy to buy the ticket, get it, but you've got two audiences that are watching two different sports. Then, if you imagine you've just watched the F1 cars go around at X amount of speed, then they've got the bikes out there. It's like, oh, I'll carry on watching this, see what it's about, and then you've
yeah,
got a
yeah,
highlight reel.
yeah. That would be wicked. I think everyone's spoken about that on socials. I think Silverstone would probably be the only track it can work. To be fair, it would be maybe Catalonia. There's a few others it would work. But then I guess who's on very soon, Keith Hewan, he said it has to be a track where bikes still look fast enough. It
Yeah,
can't be a stop and start track nature track
agreed.
like where F1 obviously are good for F1 rely on heavy braking, don't they? For most of their overtakes, unless it's DRS, of course. Then you need heavy braking zones to overtake. If you had that in MotoGP, stop and start, what's this? There's so much slower. It would have to be a
But the high
fast track.
speed stuff like Silverstone, for example, I think GP2 cars are equivalent to the MotoGP lap times. So it can't be stop start, but it also can't be high speed. So you're already limiting yourselves. Like Red Bull
Yeah,
Ring, maybe. Um, yeah,
yeah,
who knows?
maybe. But then the layout would have to be different because they already changed the layout for MotoGP and F1 at Red Bull Ring. But yeah, um,
If anyone could do it, Red Bull could do it. They've already got a vested interest. They've got teams in both categories. That would
true,
be box office for them.
true. That would be make it an easier thing.
The
Yeah,
Red Bull F1 MotoGP crossover, they would be selling that for years.
well, that would be expensive. You're right. It would be expensive. Yeah, it'd be pay
But
per view.
just the stuff that they could market afterwards, the clips and everything else, like they would have pulled off an event that no one else has managed.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we could talk about this all night. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and obviously we will. Thanks for joining, Ryan. And
Yeah, no, he's happy to be here. He's got a fair bit of editing to get that down.
I'll just put it out like this. To be fair, unless for some reason the sound's gone at some point, then I think that this would be great. So no, thanks for joining, and obviously Ryan will probably join us again. He likes coming on, I think. Do you, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to
Brilliant.
have a chat and talk all things bikes.
Yeah, Alex should be back soon. Obviously, getting over some family bits, bless him. So when that is all sorted, Alex should be back on a weekly basis. And obviously, when the season starts, we'll be doing a weekly episode. And obviously, in a matter of days now, we have Keith Ewan on, and as the
That'd
week
be a good one.
that will be because so looking forward to that. We'll be going on. We'll say an hour. Keith likes a good chat as well, so that will go on beyond an hour probably. But who cares? But yeah. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Enjoy the test. Obviously, we'll be covering that next week. Should be Alex should be back by then. We'll have to see. I think on the weekend the test will be finished by then. My dates. I think the last day is the 7th. Yeah, so by the weekend it shall finish. So we'll talk about that next week. So thanks for tuning in, folks, and enjoy our British GP rant that was inevitable. We didn't even plan on talking about that, and we did anyway.
No.
So, yes. Right, thanks. It's a pleasure, and we'll see you later on in the year.
Cheers, Jimmy. Take care.
No worries. Thanks, folks.